2 days before Christmas, a packed flight lifts off from New York, seatbelts snapping, tempers tight. Row 2 is quiet until a sharp voice cuts through cabin chatter. "Move. You don't belong here." A man with a winter-red face hovers over a kid in a black hoodie, palm pressed to the headrest like a claim. The boy doesn't flinch. He meets the stare steady. The first clash hits before the wheels tuck away. Tension spreads in waves. Passengers lean. Some turn away. Others raise phones. The man's words get meaner. One syllable repeats with a bite meant to belittle. A flight attendant intervenes. Calm, measured. Policies, seat assignments, simple facts. It doesn't matter. He steps back only to reload. Minutes pass. The cabin tries to settle. Beverage carts rattle. Holiday travelers whisper into plastic cups, pretending normal has returned. It hasn't. A notification buzzes in row 5. Then another. A post is climbing fast, fired off midair, baiting outrage. The boy in row 2 doesn't know it yet, but his name has left the cabin. The second clash comes harder. Same man, bourbon on his breath, phone up close, voice louder now. "Tell them who you are." He reaches for the hoodie string. Fingers close. The kid jerks back. A woman beside him rises to block, takes an elbow to the ribs, stumbles. Gasps pop through the aisle. A college student in row 3 blurts, "Yo, stop." The call button pings in a lonely rhythm. Up front, the pilot gets the report. An in-flight disturbance. A minor targeted. A crew member shoved. Fuel calculations blur. Options narrow. He requests an immediate diversion. Denver clears a path. That's climax 1. A holiday flight forced off course by one man's appetite for control. Here's the twist the cabin doesn't know. The boy in row 2? He's 13. He built an education app in his living room and sold it months ago for a fortune. Headlines called him the youngest black billionaire in the country. Reporters tagged him with a nickname he hates. His parents wanted him grounded. He wanted to fly like a normal kid. He chose a commercial seat to feel ordinary for 5 hours. Someone on this plane decided he didn't deserve even that. By now, the post has leapt out of the plane like a flare. Comments stack. View counts surge. A tag pulls in loud voices who love a pylon. The man in row 5 reads the replies, smirks, and stands again. A stranger, boosted by strangers, tries to turn a child into a spectacle at 32,000 feet. The crew moves. 2 passengers step in to help. Zip ties click. The aisle becomes a border. The man thrashes, spitting threats about money and power, about who pays whom. His words carry a message older than the aircraft itself. The boy grips the armrest. He swallows hurt like a stone. Here's the question that frames the entire flight. Who decided this kid's presence was a problem, and how did his name hit the internet midair? Was it an eagle-eyed traveler hungry for clout? A careless screen left open? Or a person close enough to know the details? A leak on board turns a seat dispute into a national headline. The airline will answer for procedures. The public will argue about filming, about intervention, about what counts as courage. But inside row 2 it's smaller. It's a kid deciding whether to shrink or stay put. A single word aimed to belittle grounded a plane 2 days before Christmas. Have you ever watched a petty power play turn into a line you could feel in your throat? This isn't a story about seating. It's about who gets told to move and who refuses. If you had been in that aisle, would you have stepped in or stared at your screen? Before we taxi into the full story, drop your city in the comments. If you believe a crowd should protect a kid, hit subscribe right now. This community stands up together, even at 30,000 feet. Back to the cabin. The woman who took the elbow is checked by medics after landing, but that's hours away. For now, she sits with a hand to her temple, blinking back tears, insisting she's fine. The boy says nothing. He has learned that silence can be armor. He also knows it can be mistaken for permission. A toddler starts crying 2 rows back. A dad bounces him, murmuring comfort. The crying spreads, then lulls. People settle into a strained quiet. But something new hangs over them, the knowledge that the world is already watching. Screens in nearly every row glow the same way. They aren't just passengers anymore. They're witnesses, commenters, jurors. Some will forget this night by morning. Others will carry it into every boarding line they stand in for the rest of their lives. The pilot levels the aircraft. He thinks about de-icing trucks in Denver and winds that shear across the Front Range. He thinks about federal rules that say safety first, always. He thinks about kids who come on board with stuffed animals and headphones, expecting only pretzels, soda, and a movie. He keys the intercom voice even. Folks will be making an unscheduled stop. Murmurs ripple. A woman with a tight connection groans, checks her watch, calculates gifts still unwrapped in a suitcase that might miss Santa morning. A man in a sports jersey mutters that people have lost their minds. A teen in a beanie whispers, "Good. He crossed a line." No one agrees on everything. Everyone agrees the night just changed. The crew sets the cabin for descent. The boy touches his sweatshirt at the collar, as if smoothing down a moment that won't smooth. He thinks about his mom saying, "Text me at wheels up and wheels down." He thinks about his dad who tells him, "Keep your head, son." He thinks about a holiday he wanted to spend under a blanket with a controller in his hands, not under a spotlight held by strangers. He wonders if this is the cost of being known, or the cost of someone else's choice. That's where we start, with a flight that should have been routine, a word meant to cut, and a name that turned a cabin into a courtroom. Stay with me. We're going to rewind to the gate, trace how pressure built, reveal who opened the door to the internet midair, and face the moment when a child's dignity became the heaviest thing on that plane. If you're still with me right now, type "still here" in the comments. It helps this story reach the people who need it most. And if you're new to this channel, subscribing is free, but the impact isn't. We're building a space where silence doesn't get the last word. Terminal 4 JFK. December 22nd. Late afternoon. Garland-wrapped pillars. Rolling delays. Gate agents with dry hands and frayed patience. The kind of day when even seasoned travelers whisper prayers to the runway gods. He stands near the window, a kid trying to fold himself smaller. Steelers hoodie. Scuffed sneakers. Headphones down around his neck like a lifeline. Boarding pass tucked in a paperback he's already read twice. His name is Miles. 13. He prefers math to limelight, code to crowds, truth to spin. His manager for this trip is Addison Grant. Navy blazer. Sharp bob. A smile that lands somewhere between polished and protective. She's new to the inner circle. She carries a leather briefcase and a list of deliverables. She insists commercial is good optics this week. Private slots vanished under the storm, she says. Besides, normal keeps a child steady. Normal is a line he chases. He wants to stand in the boarding queue like everyone else. He wants the gate agent to say, "Enjoy your flight," and mean it in the plain way. He wants to watch a superhero movie and pass out before the credits. He wants to text his mom "wheels up" and "wheels down," and send a blurry snack photo she'll pretend to be impressed by. A man in a crimson scarf lingers 3 rows back, faux casual. Silver hair. Tan that says Florida in February. He scrolls with intent. He isn't obvious, but he isn't subtle either. His eyes bounce from screen to hoodie to boarding pass to hoodie. He files details the way a claims adjuster files risk. Announcements crackle. A family rushes the counter, pleading about a grandmother waiting at LAX. A teenager drags a longboard, grip tape flaking. A woman in scrubs nods off upright, badge turned backward to keep her name to herself. Holiday travel is a blender of stories with one shared goal: get home. Olivia Pena passes the gate on her way from crew room to boarding door. She notes line length, stroller count, the percentage of passengers whose eyes already show strain. She's flown this route for years. She knows which pockets of the cabin will calm and which will flare under pressure. She keeps her stride steady. Kindness, delivered early, earns interest mid-flight. Boarding begins. Priority rows first. Pre-boards for families and those who need extra time. Miles waits until Addison waves him forward. He glances once at the snowfall outside. Big flakes. Heavy as salt. He loves storms. They make the world quiet. Inside the jet, holiday scents mix with recirculated air. Pine cleaner. Cardboard cups. That metallic tang that says the aircraft is ready to work. Row numbers tick past. Olivia greets with the same tone for everyone. Welcome aboard. Happy holidays. 2 left, then you're there. Bulkhead row 2. Extra space for legs. No seat in front to duck behind. Great for comfort. Terrible for hiding. Addison takes the aisle. She claims it's easier to manage logistics from there. She slides her briefcase overhead. She fusses with her blazer. She checks her phone, checks the time, checks the battery. Her presence hums at a frequency labeled control. Miles sits by the window. He presses his forehead to plastic that's colder than he expects. He likes watching the ground pull away. He likes the math and lift and drag. He likes the part where the earth drops and the sky becomes a path. A man places a roller bag where it won't fit. He turns it sideways, diagonally, then jams the handle. A sigh behind him. He mutters a complaint about overhead space and people who bring too much. The line stalls. Olivia pivots from row to row, shifting bags like puzzle pieces, smoothing frictions before they spark. The silver-haired man appears again, 5 rows back now, tapping a notification away. His eyes bounce to row 2, to the hoodie, to the narrow shoulders, to the backpack patch sewn by a nurse on a kitchen table in Pittsburgh. He isn't watching a child. He's watching a symbol he thinks he understands. Pushback. Safety demo. Seatbelts click. Phones slip into airplane mode with a chorus of pretend compliance. The aircraft inches, then turns. Out the window, the runway looks like a runway always looks in winter. A promise and a dare. Miles texts his mom. Wheels up soon. She responds with 3 hearts, a prayer hands, and a reminder to hydrate. His dad texts, call me from LAX. Proud of you. 2 dots appear, disappear. His dad adds, head up. That last part lands. It always does. Take off. The city shrinks to lights. The wing flexes. The cabin exhales. Conversations restart. People loosen scarves and expectations. A man in 8C plays a game on his phone. A couple in 1A clinks plastic cups. A kid in 6D asks if clouds taste like marshmallows. His mom says, let's find out in our dreams. Small things begin to add up. A sideways glance. A tightly rolled eye when a teen laughs too loud. The scarfed man's snort when a stroller bumps his knee. Polite looks that aren't polite. Words with teeth tucked in. Olivia clocks row 2. The kid is calm. The manager is keyed up. She files it under watch but don't hover. She moves on. She has a cart to prep and a cabin to read. It's a simple story until it isn't. A child on a plane wants to go from point A to point B. He has money he didn't ask for and attention he didn't want. He sits quietly. He doesn't ask for champagne or special favors. He just wants to arrive. Here's the part that stings. He could have flown private this week. He could have skipped the line, skipped the looks, skipped the gate agent who studied his boarding pass longer than she studied the man behind him. He chose this aisle. He chose this seat. He chose to share space because he believes sharing space is how you stay human. Have you ever tried to be regular in a room eager to remind you you're not? Drop a still here, if you know that feeling. Say where you're watching from. It helps this story reach the folks who need a hand on their shoulder at 32,000 feet. At cruising altitude, choices get clearer and smaller at the same time. You decide which words to swallow. You decide which glances to ignore. You decide to keep your hands in your lap when someone tries to move you with a nudge that isn't a nudge. People tell you to be calm. They don't see the math you're doing in your chest. There's a detail you should hold. Addison keeps glancing at her laptop. A document sits open. A press contact is pinned to the top of her email. She says it's for scholarship outreach. She believes that. She also believes attention is fuel. Near row 5, the scarfed man's tablet lights his face. He scrolls a headline about a kid founder who rang a bell on Wall Street. He zooms in on a photo. He compares the dimple in the smile to the boy staring out a plane window. His lips thin. He lifts his phone. His thumbs move. A tiny decision in a narrow aisle sets off a chain. Words come next. Then a reach. Then a choice that will decide where this plane touches down. If you're with me, tap subscribe. No noise. Just stories that push back where pushback is needed. We're building this together, flight by flight. Move. You don't belong here. It lands like a slap in a quiet room. Row 2 freezes. The man in the scarf is close enough that Miles can count the threads. His palm rests on the headrest like a flag. He doesn't ask. He commands. My boarding pass says 2C, Miles says steady. The man doesn't look at the pass. He looks at the kid. First class costs money. Kids don't get handouts. Back there. He jerks his chin toward Coach. Addison rises. Sir, he's in the correct seat. He doesn't see her. Or he does and he chooses not to. His eyes don't move from the boy. Up, he says, voice sweet with contempt. Olivia arrives. Sir, please take your assigned seat. We'll sort any issues. He jabs a finger at the aisle. I know what this is. People gaming the system. It's 5A for you, Olivia replies, pointing at his lanyard. We'll get you settled. He steps back, but he makes sure the aisle feels smaller on his way through. His shoulder brushes Miles's with more force than an accident. A bruise blooms that won't show, but it will ache. Conversations restart with a new edge. Some people. Entitled. Kids today. People fill gaps with their favorite stories. Some plant their feet on one side. Some on the other. Most keep heads down and screens up. Beverage service begins. Plastic cups clink. Olivia hands Miles a Sprite. Let me know if you need anything, she says low. He nods. He doesn't need anything except to land. The man in 5A loosens his scarf. He orders bourbon. He drains the first and orders another. He scrolls. He types. His jaw tightens in a way that tells you he's picking a fight he thinks he can win. Small comments drift forward. He should be grateful. Rules are rules. Why are we still talking about seats? Each sentence is a match. Some blow out. Some catch. Miles breathes slow. Counting helps. In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 6. He learned that during a week when cameras camped at his door and drones buzzed like hornets over his street. He learned it when a classmate asked if he could buy the school. He learned it when a stranger DM'd him to say his genius was a myth. The aisle isn't just an aisle anymore. It's a line with history older than the aircraft. Who goes first? Who is told to move? Who is expected to smile while shuffling back? Have you ever watched a grown adult test a kid's dignity in public? Felt the heat rise in your neck while your feet stayed planted? Drop a "still here" if your answer is yes. Say where you draw the line. The second approach is worse because it arrives pretending to be casual. The man walks up with his phone already recording. He puts the lens near Miles's face. Tell them who you are, he says too loud. Tell them how you got this seat. Addison stands. Please stop filming him. He tilts the phone toward her for one beat, then back to the kid. Nervous? You should be. His hand reaches. It closes on the hoodie string. It tightens. A stupid string. A small string. A control point. Miles jerks back. His elbow knocks the armrest. His headphones slip. He hears his own breath first, then everyone else's. Addison wedges herself between them. Sit down, she says sharp. The man's elbow flares. It hits her rib. She folds for a second, then straightens by force of will. Gasps ripple. Someone stands in row 3. Stop, man. Another voice says, don't get involved. The ancient chorus. Olivia is there fast. Sir, step back now. He grins for the camera. He says a word that isn't a swear but feels worse. He says it with the tone of someone naming property. It slices cleanly because it has been sharpened across generations. Up front, the interphone chirps. The pilot listens to a comm report that contains words no captain wants mid-route. Minor, contact, escalation. He doesn't hesitate. We're diverting, he says. Safety is not a debate. 2 off-duty Marines stand. They move with economy. They don't pose. They don't talk. They hold the man's wrists. Olivia snaps on restraints. The plastic zip ties bite and hold. The phone drops to the carpet and skitters under a seat. He thrashes. He spits words about power and money. He claims the right to decide who sits, who stands, who speaks, who is silent. He talks like airlines are his property and crew are his staff. He broadcasts an old script to a new audience. The cabin breathes in one pattern then another. Relief. Anger. Shame. It mixes into a fog no filter can scrub. Miles sits back. His hands shake. He tucks them under his legs so no one sees. He thinks of his mom's voice. He thinks of his dad's hand on his shoulder at the kitchen table. He thinks of the way the news turned his face into a headshot and called it a brand. The seatbelt sign dings. The captain's voice is even. Folks, due to a disruptive incident on board, we'll be making a stop in Denver. Thank you for your cooperation. A woman sighs. A man curses. A teen says, good. A girl whispers, is he okay? About the kid in row 2, the one who hasn't cried. The one who won't. This is not about a seat. It's about who gets told they don't belong and how a crowd responds. If you'd been 2 rows away, would you have stepped in or filmed? We're not finished. A new thread has already slipped through the cabin. A post is live. A name is tagged. Strangers far below are choosing sides before the wheels touch Denver. Stay with me. Section 4 cracks open how a private moment turned into a public spectacle at cruising altitude. A screen lights in row 5. A post goes live. It carries a photo snapped without consent. Hoodie up. Head turned. A caption that frames a child as a symbol. It tags loud accounts that love a pile on the way moths love porch light. Notifications hit like hail. Likes thud. Replies stack. The man watches numbers jump. He sips his bourbon like it's a reward for service rendered. Farther forward, a laptop glows. A document mentions a board observer seat. A company name most passengers recognize from app stores. The file shouldn't be visible. It is. A passenger glances. She can't tell if what she saw is special. She tells her friend anyway. Words travel with the speed of boredom. In 3C, a college student who filmed earlier tries to post with context. She writes, this is wrong. He's a kid. She blurs faces. She adds that he did nothing to provoke. She hopes her care will attract care. She hopes the internet is better this hour than most hours. It isn't. Her video blooms. So do comments that revel in harm. Teach him a lesson. Bet he bought that seat. Privilege meets reality. A handful push back. He's 13. He earned what he built. He belongs in any seat he paid for. The thread splits and grows. It always does. By row, phones light and tilt. A flight becomes a feed. People glance from screen to aisle to screen. Some connect dots. Some draw new ones. Some want to go back to their movie. That won't happen. Here's the early twist fully in frame. The boy has a name some viewers already know. Months ago he coded an education app that helped classmates pass algebra. A company with deep pockets made an offer no one expected. A deal closed. Headlines crowned him something he didn't ask to be. His parents kept life as steady as possible. His mom still works nights. His dad still drills discipline more than dollars. None of that is in the post. The post sells a simpler story. A kid billionaire is hogging seats while real people suffer delays. The syntax is bait. The tone is smug. The goal is attention. The man in 5A receives a DM from a follower with a bald eagle in the avatar. Push him. Get him on camera. Make him say it. He grins. He stands even with zip ties cutting his wrists. He tells the Marines he needs the restroom. They don't move. He yells anyway. He wants volume more than relief. Olivia checks the aisle. She moves row 4 snack trash into a bag. She glances at row 2. The kid's eyes are focused on a fixed point only he can see. She resists the urge to kneel and fill the space with talking. She knows some silences are tools, not voids. At 32,000 feet, a name turns a cabin into a theater. Seats become rows. The aisle becomes a stage. The set is a metal tube over Nebraska with ice in the clouds and customers who paid for peace and got a civics lesson instead. An older woman leans over to her husband. He's that boy from the news, she whispers. He's brilliant. Her husband shakes his head. No kid belongs in first, he mutters. It spoils them. She stares at him, surprised by how fast she recoils. She wonders what other lines he carries that she hasn't noticed. Two teenagers whisper hot takes they learned from creators they love. One says it's all clout. The other says clout or not, you never put hands on a kid. They agree on almost nothing. They agree on that. Addison opens her email. A message from a streaming producer sits unread. The subject line glows. Holiday spotlight, confirming shots? Her stomach drops. She told herself she was courting coverage for scholarships. She told herself attention serves a mission. She didn't plan for midair chaos. Intent doesn't erase impact. She closes the laptop. She presses fingers to her rib where the elbow landed. It hurts when she breathes deep. She keeps breathing. Curiosity loop, how did the name jump from a document to the feed? Was it the scarfed man sleuthing? A passenger who saw a screen? Or someone who had the details before wheels up? 3 paths lead to the same place. A child's privacy flung open without consent. Controversy flares by the minute. Filming keeps people safe, someone posts. Filming exposes victims, another replies. Without video he'd be just another kid hurt with no proof. With video he's a target for strangers who want a target. Both claims carry heat. Both carry truth. Neither carries the whole. Nonfiction collides with performance. The man's live stream jumps from 6,000 to 20. Comments pour in. Some call him a patriot. Some call him what he is. He feeds on both. He loves cheers. He loves booze. He loves being at the center. The captain gets a note from Denver Center. Runway assignment secured. Gate likely remote. Police notified. Paramedics on standby. Paperwork waiting. He feels older than he did an hour ago. He isn't. It's just that some flights add years. Have you ever watched a private hurt become public fodder in real time? Felt your finger hover over a share button and had to ask what you were about to buy with someone else's pain? Drop, still here, if you've ever made the hard choice to close the app. The leak changes outcomes. It invites interference. It pulls in noise. It draws a map for more harm. It also creates a record. That record will guard the kid when some try to rewrite the night. It will demand accountability when denial arrives dressed as reason. Shock arrives in a quiet detail. The college student in 3C refreshes. Her post is now at 8 million views. She didn't intend to carry that weight. Her hands shake. She looks at the kid in row 2, shrinks in her seat, whispers, "I'm sorry" to no one and everyone. Olivia brings water to Addison. Sip. Addison obeys. Olivia brings Sprite to row 2. Small sips, she says. Miles nods. He doesn't drink. He needs both hands to stay still. A man 2 rows back clears his throat. Kit, he says softer than before. You okay? Miles nods once. The man looks down. He isn't sure what to do next. He wishes he were braver earlier. Context matters. 2 days before Christmas. An American city at departure and another at destination. A country that just marked Juneteenth for the 3rd year as a federal holiday. A conversation about who belongs were still burning in living rooms, in school board meetings, in comment threads that never close. The plane begins to descend. Denver's lights sprawl like a circuit board. Snow peels across the window in sheets. The feed doesn't slow. The name doesn't go back in the box. It won't, not after this night. One more loop to hold. When this aircraft lands, consequences split. Legal, personal, public, private. Some will be swift. Some will take months. Some will never fully land. We'll get there. First the wheels. First the tarmac. First, the cold air that hits harder than anyone expects when the door opens to a line of uniforms with questions and a stretcher with clean sheets. If you're still with me, you're one of the real ones. Tap subscribe. Drop your city. Share this with someone who thinks it's just a seat. In this space, we know seats are never just seats. They're signals. They're tests. They're chances to stand up without standing. The reach happens fast. A hand for the hoodie string. A tug meant to own. Small but pointed. The kind of move designed to humiliate, not just touch. Miles jerks back. His headphones drop to his lap. His knee bangs the armrest. Addison wedges in, arm out, voice clipped. Stop. The man's elbow flares, catches her rib. She folds a beat, then straightens on grit. Gasps crack across the rows. A cup tips and rolls. Ginger ale pools under a seat. A baby startles, then wails. The aisle shrinks to a funnel. Olivia steps in with the tone that cuts chaos. Sir, stop now. Sit down. No drama. No debate. Just a line. He grins for an audience he can't see but can feel. Make me. His phone points at the boy. Tell them your name. Tell them what you paid. He wants a scene. He wants a clip. He wants a trophy with a face. 2 men stand from row 10 and row 12, quick and clean. They don't puff up. They don't shout. They move with purpose and stop just outside arm's length. Back off, one says even. Hands to yourself, the other adds. The man twists. I have rights. He spits a word that has been used to cage boys who look like Miles for generations. He spits it like a dare. Silence spreads, then hardens. Up front, the interphone chirps. Cabin to cockpit. The report is crisp. A minor was grabbed, a passenger shoved, restraint likely. The pilot doesn't shop for options. He selects the only one that protects life and law. Diverting to Denver, he tells ATC. Fuel status? The first officer asks. We're good. Let's brief. Olivia signals for the restraint kit. Plastic ties. Extra belts. A form the crew will fill with shaking hands later when the adrenaline clears. For now they are steady. For now they act. Sir, place your hands behind you, Olivia says. He laughs. He tries to jerk away. The 2 men step in, hold his wrists with care that is firm but not cruel. Click, click. Zip ties snug. He thrashes, then settles to hiss. You'll regret this. I'll have your jobs. He names money. He names power. He names ownership of people who serve. The aisle opens by inches. People look everywhere but at row 2. Or they stare hard, searching for a way to feel useful through glass. The college student in 3C lowers her phone. She can't hold it steady now. She is shaking from the inside out. Addison breathes shallow. The rib is tender to the touch. Her eyes burn. Not from pain. From the thought that a boy in her care was just grabbed like an object on a shelf. She checks Miles. You okay? He nods. He is not okay. He is holding himself together with breath counts and a stubborn jaw. The captain's voice is calm. Ladies and gentlemen, for safety reasons, we're making an unscheduled stop at Denver International. Please remain seated and follow crew instructions. He doesn't explain. He doesn't owe details. He owes a safe landing. A man 2 rows back mutters about delays. A woman whispers, thank you. A teen says, he should be off this plane. No one says the obvious, he should never have been allowed to get this far. Altitude drops. The front range shows its teeth. Snow stutters across the window. The cabin feels colder now. Not from the air. From what was said and done. Miles stares at the seat back pocket. He reads safety card bullets he already knows by heart. He touches the hoodie string now stretched and frayed. He thinks of his mom's sewing kit. He thinks of how she fixes what can be fixed and lets go of what can't. This moment is what accountability looks like in real time. Not a thread. Not a take. A captain choosing safety over convenience. Crew choosing duty over comfort. Strangers choosing to stand. If you were buckled 2 rows away, would you press charges later, or walk away to keep your peace? The wheels drop. The thud is louder than usual. Or maybe it just feels louder. The runway lights smear in the snow. Brakes bite. The cabin tilts forward in a shared lean. They stop on a remote stand. No jetway. No holiday music. Just blue strobes and a field of white. The door opens to uniforms and clipped words. Hands. Step. This way. The man spits more threats. He names lawyers. He names numbers. None of it matters at that moment. Gravity does. Law does. Handcuffs do. Olivia exhales for the first time in 20 minutes. She looks at Miles. You did nothing wrong. 3 words. They land like a blanket. He nods without meeting her eyes. If he looks up, he knows tears might find air. He isn't ready to let them. Tell me straight, would you have spoken up before the ties came out? Or would you have filmed and hoped someone else stepped in? Section 5 lands here. A small assault, a firm response, and a decision from the cockpit that said, without flourish, that a child's dignity is worth a detour. Stay with me. Section 6 is the cold tarmac, flashing lights, and the quiet storm inside row 2. The cold hits in a rush when the door opens. It rides the aisle like a warning. Breath turns to smoke. Voices shrink to their efficient course. Airport police step on, boots leaving damp marks that evaporate quick. They take custody without theater. Hands. Turn. Down the steps. A shout from outside disappears into wind. The man is gone, but he will echo for hours. Paramedics board, soft voices, brisk hands. You ma'am, sit tight. Let's check your ribs. Addison tries to wave them off. They don't accept the wave. Vitals. Gentle press. A winch she can't hide. We'd like to run a scan. She looks at Miles. He nods. Go. His voice is small. It still carries. He watches her descend the metal stairs, beanie pulled low, blanket wrapped. He feels a strange guilt. As if he dragged her into this when she put herself between him and harm. He knows that isn't how cause works. He still feels it. The cabin goes quiet the way stages go quiet after a curtain drop. A dad entertains a toddler with a paper cup. A teen scrolls, then locks his phone and stares at his shoes. The college student in 3C types an apology into a note app she might never send. A woman kneels in the aisle to whisper to her elderly mother, who slept through the worst of it. We're okay, she says, and it's true and not. Olivia kneels next to row 2, careful not to crowd. She offers a cup that steams. Chamomile. Miles nods thanks. He wraps both hands around it, not to drink, just to feel something warm that doesn't sting. You handled yourself, she says, voice low. That matters. He stares at the rim of the cup. I didn't do anything. You didn't give him what he wanted. That counts. He swallows. I grounded a plane. No, she says. He grounded us. You kept your seat. He breathes that in. He holds it like a talisman. Maybe it will stick. Passengers face their own mirrors. A man realizes he muttered about delays while a kid held the line. He tastes the sour after. A woman who filmed for 5 seconds sits on her hands, wishing she had stood instead. A teen who yelled stop feels both braver and smaller than before. Growth hurts. It always has. The feed is still moving. Comments still climb. The name still circulates. The plane is a bubble that bursts every time a thumb swipes. Some people go offline to breathe. Some can't look away. Some can't look at their own reflection. Operations sends an update. Paperwork. Fuel. Crew duty limits. The captain calculates minutes like a chess player counts moves left in a cramped endgame. He can make it to LAX. He can also time out if Denver drags. He chooses to protect the crew and the passengers. He communicates just enough. We'll be on the ground for a bit. Thank you for your patience. The cabin accepts or doesn't. The clock doesn't care. Addison returns an hour and change later. A knit cap from the ER. A bruise rising purple under her cheekbone's edge. I'm okay, she says, smiling with the side of her face that doesn't hurt. She sits. Your parents know. They're proud. He nods. He doesn't look at her. Not yet. She reaches into her bag then stops. She closes it. She folds her hands. This is new for her, choosing not to reach for control. Have you ever sat in a room after a fight and felt the air heavy with all the words that aren't being said? Drop, still here, if you know that weight. Tell me where you'd have started the next conversation. Community matters here. Olivia returns with a blanket. She doesn't tuck it. She offers it. Miles takes it. A small thing. A human thing. Across the aisle, the man who asked, "You okay?" earlier clears his throat. "I should have said something sooner," he admits. No one argues. No one absolves. They sit with it. The captain makes rounds. He looks people in the eye. He thanks them for calm. He accepts glares as part of the job. He stops at row 2. "You did fine," he says. "It isn't flowery. It doesn't need to be." The door closes. The engines spool. The aircraft turns back to the runway like a runner resetting for a second race. The city's lights slide under wing. The sky opens again. Miles texts his mom, "Still going to LA. I'm okay." She replies with a voice memo he doesn't play yet. He doesn't want to hear the catch in her throat on a plane full of strangers. He stares at the window. Denver disappears in the dark. He thinks about cost. Not money. Cost in attention. Cost in safety. Cost in trust. He takes inventory. He decides he can't carry everything tonight. He picks one thing. He won't apologize for sitting down. Section 6 closes like this. A boy with a blanket and a cooling cup of tea, a crew that did their jobs, a cabin learning what it feels like to be part of a story instead of just a route. The price of a name is high. Dignity shouldn't be part of the bill. Section 7 cracks the hardest shell, betrayal where it hurts most. The cabin is dim. Reading lights dot the ceiling like low stars. Conversations fall to a murmur. The adrenaline tax comes due. People yawn, not from boredom but from recovery. Addison sits stiff, hands laced, eyes forward. She knows she owes a sentence. She has rehearsed so many versions in her head. Each one sounds worse than the last. She turns to Miles. "I need to tell you something." He doesn't look away from the window. "Okay. I reached out to a producer last week." She keeps the voice low. "I pitched a holiday feature on your scholarship plans. I thought," she stops. She hears the word she almost used. Thought. It would center her intent. It would skim over harm. He says nothing. She continues. "I put you on a list of arrivals. Like, tonight. I didn't plan for this. I didn't expect any of it." He still doesn't turn. "Did you tell them my seat? My flight?" "No," she says too fast. "I wouldn't." She swallows. "I did send a draft release. My laptop was open. Someone could have seen. Or the man in 5A recognized you from a photo. Or, it could be me in effect even if not on purpose." Silence fills the row. The engine hum grows louder in the gap. He finally turns. His eyes are clear and tired. "You said commercial was safer. I said normal is healthy." She owns it now. "I was wrong about how to get there." He nods once. "You sold my arrival." It lands as a fact, not a question. It still slices. She doesn't deny. "I did. For attention I told myself would help others." He stares back out the window. City lights far below scatter like coins tossed into dark water. He feels 13. He feels ancient. He feels like he has to parent himself in this row. Have you ever felt the floor drop because the person paid to protect you made you a product? Drop, still here, if you've had to redraw your trust line. Say how you did it. A few rows back, the college student who filmed polishes her apology in notes. "I wanted to defend you. I made you more visible." She backspaces, tries again. She doesn't hit send. She will speak to him if chance allows. She will keep that boundary if it doesn't. Olivia pauses by row 2, sensing air that has changed, not knowing why. "Refill?" she asks. He shakes his head. Addison nods. "Water please." Olivia moves on. She has learned when to linger and when to leave space. Miles speaks without looking. "I need you to resign when we land." The sentence is soft and final. Addison nods, face wet now. She doesn't argue her value. She doesn't list her wins. She doesn't defend intent. She takes the weight. "I'll send the board my resignation tonight." He adds, "And I need you to send a statement to anyone you emailed. No more features. No more tips. If they call, they get my parents. Or they get silence. Done." She says it like a promise in a courtroom. He breathes in out. He isn't satisfied. He isn't vengeful. He is tired. He is protecting the part of himself that still wants to code in a hoodie and forget what his name earns in attention. What if the leak wasn't a stranger? Been sold out by someone who pledged to shield you? This is how harm hides. Inside good intentions with bad outcomes. What should accountability look like here? Apology, resignation, repair? If this hits, subscribe. If you're not ready, tell me why in the comments. I read every reason. Sometimes your reasons teach me what to fix next. The crew announces time to destination. People stir. Seatbacks click forward. Cups clatter into bags. The spell breaks a little. Reality returns in routine. Addison taps a draft to her board contact. Effective immediately, I resign. She writes a second note to the producer. No story. No arrivals. Delete any footage you plan to take. She hits send with a hand that doesn't quite stop shaking. She turns back. I'm sorry, she says. It isn't enough. It won't be for a while. It may never be. Is still the right sentence. Miles nods. He doesn't absolve. He doesn't extend a hand. He doesn't have to. He is allowed to keep what remains of his calm. Betrayal doesn't always shout. Sometimes it wears a blazer and a smile and a pitch deck. It believes exposure is a gift. It forgets that safety is the first gift any adult owes a child. Section 7 rests here, with an admission, a consequence, and a kid who drew a line and held it. Section 8 puts this night in the frame of law and public judgment. Not the internet's blur. The actual stakes. The processes that kick in when a plane becomes a crime scene in a headline. The internet moves at the speed of impulse. Law moves at the speed of process. This night belongs to both. On the tarmac, officers logged the man's words and actions. Interfering with crew is a federal offense. So is assault on a plane. Camera footage helps. Witness statements help more. The charge sheet doesn't care about follows or likes. It cares about events, times, contact, harm. Denver police process the arrest. The FBI coordinates with airport units, because commercial aviation is federal space. The U.S. Attorney's Office will weigh evidence. Possible counts. Interference with flight crew and attendants. Simple assault. Hate motivation can be a factor in sentencing even when it's not a separate charge. The words used matter. The context matters. The grab matters most. For the airline, reports stack. The captain files an irregular operations log. Olivia and her crew submit detailed accounts. Gate agents add notes. Operations logs the diversion cost. Fuel, crew hours, passenger reaccommodation. Training departments flag this case for future modules. Policy teams review restraint protocols and reporting lines for bias-based incidents. For passengers, stories diverge. One man writes a long post about how intervention felt risky but necessary. A woman deletes her quick clip and posts a reflection instead. I filmed first. I should have stood up sooner. The college student reaches out to a legal clinic for advice on how to blur faces retroactively and limit harm. Growth shows in the messy middle, not the polished end. 4 miles, federal process means interviews at LAX. A child advocate present. A parent on speaker if not in person. Questions that are gentle but direct. Did he touch you? Where? What did he say? He answers with a voice that holds steady because the facts are steady. Public opinion keeps humming. Commentators argue the usual lines. He was just mad about his seat. No, he grabbed a minor and used language that marked intent. Kids shouldn't be in first. If they paid, they belong. Full stop. Phones made it worse. Phones made it seen. Both can be true. Visual interrupts in your feed. A clip of the arrest. A still of a boy's profile with a hoodie string frayed. A screenshot of a route map with an unexpected stop over Denver. A thread from a flight attendant explaining de-escalation in plain terms. Have you filed a complaint with the Department of Transportation before? Many haven't. Here's the quick. If you witness discrimination by staff, you can file with the airline and with the DOT. If you witness violence from a passenger, report to crew, then to law enforcement on landing. Your statement matters. Your video can matter if it captures clear behavior without doxing victims. Blur faces when you can. Don't post addresses. Don't post minors' names. Would you testify if asked? Or would you step back to avoid the backlash that often hits witnesses online? Controversy and debate have a place. They force clarity. But they also produce heat without light if we let them. Here light looks like outcomes. The man faces charges with teeth. Interference carries real time. So do assaults on planes. Judges have little patience for threats against crew. The airline reviews how to flag bias-based incidents earlier. That might mean training to hear certain words as urgent, not just rude. Passengers see their reflection. Some will shrug. Some will change. Change is quiet. It looks like a person stepping in 1 minute earlier next time. Community building matters right here. We are not courts. We don't sentence. But we can set norms. We can say, harming a kid on a plane will cost you your freedom tonight and your comfort tomorrow. We can say, filming is not a shield for cruelty. We can say, your seat is your seat if you paid for it, whether you're 13 or 70. The law will work. Slowly. The public will argue. Loudly. The boy will heal in private. Slowly. The crew will file, train, and fly again. Section 8 closes the gap between headlines and handcuffs. Next, we pick up in Los Angeles. Interviews, resignations, and choices that set a path forward. If you're still with me, type "still here" in the comments. If you haven't yet, subscribe now. Not for me, for the stories we'll hold together. Your click helps push back where pushback is overdue. Touchdown at LAX comes late. Engines were down. The cabin blinks awake like a neighborhood after a power surge. People stand too fast, then sit when the seatbelt light reminds them the rules still rule. Agents meet the door. Not the press. Not a crowd. Just federal jackets and tired eyes. They ask for row 2 first. We'll be brief, one says. They are. Miles sits in a quiet room off the jet bridge. Beige walls. A table. 2 chairs. Olivia stands by the door with a nod from the agents. A child advocate takes the seat beside him. You can pause anytime, she says. He nods. He answers what's asked. He uses small words that fit big facts. What did he say to you? A calm voice asks. He told me to move. He used a word meant to put me down. Did he touch you? He grabbed my hoodie string. Did you feel afraid? He considers. I felt cornered. They thank him. They ask if he wants water. He shakes his head. He wants to go home. Or to the hotel that counts as home for tonight. He wants to shut a door that latches from the inside. Addison sits for her turn. She sticks to facts. She doesn't fold in her shame. This isn't the room for that. She signs her statement. Outside, she hands Miles her resignation email. Sent, she says. He nods. No more words needed. The crew debriefs. Olivia answers questions with precision. Timeline from first contact to restraint. Words used. Actions taken. Her voice doesn't quiver. Her hands steady. Later in her car they will shake. Not from fear. From the come down all frontline workers know. The airline assigns care. Vouchers. Rebookings for those who missed connections. Apologies that range from heartfelt to scripted. Some passengers accept. Some swear off the carrier forever. Most will forget by next month until the next video shakes their feet. The boy won't forget. He doesn't get that luxury. He chooses instead. Choices are power you can still hold. He and Addison ride to the hotel in silence. LA's freeways glow with brake lights. Billboards flash promises no one believes late at night. The city exhales a warm breath that smells like sea salt and gas. At check-in, the clerk stares a hair too long, then smiles just right. Welcome. We're glad you're safe. It's the first sentence that lands without an angle all day. Miles nods. Thanks. Upstairs, he texts his parents. In room. Fine. His mom calls. He picks up. He hears the inhale before her voice. Baby. He closes his eyes. I'm okay. She listens to his words more than his tone. She asks if he wants her to fly out. He says no. He wants to sleep and wake and not feel watched. His dad takes the line. Proud of you, he says. Hat up. It's their code. It isn't macho. It's posture. It's blood pressure. It's how you move through rooms that do not love you on sight. He hangs up. He sets his phone face down. He stares at the ceiling. He thinks about rules he will write for himself now. Rule 1. Commercial only when a parent or security travels too. No exceptions. Not because of fear. Because control. He wants options when options matter. Rule 2. No open laptops with sensitive docs in public spaces. Ever. His team will get that memo tomorrow. Rule 3. Media on his terms. No arrivals tipped. No features pitched about him without him. He writes them in notes. He will send them to the foundation and the company board in the morning. He feels older and centered. He feels 13 and not. Both can be true. Olivia gets home after midnight. She sets her bag down by the door and leans her forehead against cool wood. She presses play on a message from a supervisor. Commendation pending, it says. Your judgment was right. She exhales. She didn't do it for praise. But recognition matters because it signals to other crews where the line is. Have you ever decided to change your rules after a violation? Drawn a tighter circle and felt both safer and sadder for it? Drop still here if you've reset your boundaries. Say one rule you adopted that saved you later. The next morning, headlines flicker, but not as bright as the night before. The news cycle chews and moves on. Real life keeps going. Real healing starts when the noise fades. Addison sends a final note to Miles's parents. No defense. No spin. Just an apology and a clean exit. She calls the scholarship partners herself and tells them attention comes second. Safety first always. She means it now in her bones. Miles signs off on a plan his parents drafted years ago for a future they hoped wouldn't come. A quiet security detail for travel during high-attention periods, vetted by people who lead with discretion not muscle. He feels weird about it. He accepts it anyway. Consequences aren't just about the man in cuffs. They're about the circles of people choosing different paths because of one night. It's messy. It's real. It's how change moves in the world, one informed choice at a time. Section 9 ends at a quiet breakfast table with cold eggs, a phone face down, and a kid who decides to keep going without shrinking. June brings sun that sticks to skin and a holiday that carries weight. The gym at Westview Middle hums with folding chairs, streamers in red, black, and green, and a crowd that knows this day isn't decorative. It's a marker. Miles takes the stage in the same hoodie he wore on that flight. He didn't plan the symmetry. His mom smiles when she sees it. His dad nods once like a coach whose player chose the right shoes. He doesn't lead with money. He doesn't lead with fame. He leads with a story about failing a geometry proof, then building a tool that helped him learn it. He says he shared it with friends. He says it spread. He says even the best ideas start as help offered across a desk. He brings up the flight only when the room has tuned to him, not the headlines. Some of you saw a clip, he says. A man told me to move. I didn't. He pauses. Lots of people were in that cabin. Some filmed. Some helped. A few chose words that weigh more than a seat number. He looks out at rows of faces that look like his and faces that don't. Seventh graders, teachers, grandparents. A chorus of lives with their own planes, their own aisles, their own lines to hold. I learned something I thought I already knew, he says. You can't control who tries you. You can control your breath, your posture, your choice to stay seated when your seat is yours. He talks about dignity as a habit, not a posture for cameras. He talks about community as a verb. He talks about adults who protect and about how betrayal can wear a friendly voice. He doesn't say names. He doesn't need to. The lesson is bigger than any one person. He closes with this: bullies hate what they can't understand. So give them more to learn. It lands because it's simple. It lands because it comes from a kid who has been both a target and a teacher. The room stands. Not for the billionaire. For the neighbor. For the boy who stayed seated and stood up at the same time. What happened to others from that flight? The college student in 3C started volunteering with a digital safety group that teaches teens how to record harm responsibly. Blur first. Share wisely. Protect victims from collateral damage. One of the men who helped restrain the passenger now speaks to new hires at the airline about stepping in without escalation. He says his rule is simple: firm hands, calm voice, no hero talk. Olivia helped draft a training module adopted fleet-wide: how to recognize bias-based targeting early and how to phrase commands that end it. Have you ever reclaimed a story that others tried to write for you? What did that first sentence sound like? Drop, still here, if you've taken the mic back in your own life. Tell me one line you'd share with 7th graders in your town. June ends. Summer runs. The hoodie retires to a drawer for a while. The lesson doesn't. Section 10 closes with a simple truth. You can't buy anonymity, but you can choose meaning. You can't stop all storms, but you can decide how you'll fly through them. Stories breathe best when they become tools. Here's the toolkit this night offers. Intervene early, safely. Use clear language. Stop. That's not okay. Move into view. Presence changes outcomes. Don't match volume. Calm cuts through noise. If you record, do no harm. Stand where you won't block crew. Blur faces of victims and bystanders before posting. Share with authorities first. Public later, if at all. If you're targeted, keep hands visible. Name the behavior. Do not touch me. Ask for help. Crew, I need assistance. You don't owe politeness to abuse. If you're crew. Policies protect when applied with conviction. Words that mark identity as lesser are safety risks, not mere rudeness. Restraints are last resort, not a taboo. Use them when lines are crossed. If you're management, train for bias recognition. Back your crews when they protect minors and enforce dignity. Build reporting lines that don't bury complaints. If you're media, or adjacent, consent matters even for public figures. Minors deserve extra layers of privacy. No features, if safety isn't locked first. For all of us, seats aren't just seats. They're signals of belonging. Silence feels safe. It isn't neutral. Courage scales. One person moving can move 10. Community building isn't a slogan. It's a calendar of choices. It's a dad saying, "Not on my watch." It's a teen putting her phone down and her hand up. It's a flight attendant naming harm and ending it. It's a captain diverting without apologizing for choosing a child over a schedule. Which tool will you carry from this story? Drop it in the comments so someone else can borrow it later. If you've read this far, subscribe. Not as a reflex. As a pledge, to show up, to learn, to act when a line gets crossed in your row. Section 11 ends with a simple charge. Be the person who makes a cabin safer, a bus stop calmer, a hallway less cruel. We're not done. The next story waits at a bus station in Atlanta on a weekend that means something deep. People crowd under a leaking awning. A new mother rocks a stroller. A man starts with words meant to bruise. The crowd shifts. One sentence stops him cold. You'll hear it next time. One sentence stopped a mob. Would yours do the same if it had to? Silence isn't neutral on a moving bus or a moving plane. Will you be there when the moment picks you? If you made it here, you're one of the real ones. Type "I don't look away." Like the video. Share it with someone who rides buses, boards planes, walks hallways where lines get crossed. If you're watching without subscribing, tell me why. What do you need to see to join this community? Your answer shapes how we grow. Angry? Good. Aim it at change. Drop one action you'll take this month. Speak up, file a report, blur before you post. Tap the bell if you want first look when the next story drops. We publish to build a library that protects people in real time. We close where we began. A seat. A row. A word meant to make a child small. It didn't work. It delayed a flight. It didn't delay the lesson. The world will keep testing lines. We'll keep drawing them darker, straighter, closer to the people who need them most. Drop your city. Drop, "Still here." Drop one line you'd say aloud if your aisle turned into a line. Subscribe. Not for points. For practice. Because someone on your next flight might need you to stay seated and stand up at the same time.